In this video, I'm going to share how to select a backpacking campsite. I'm going to provide you with 11 separate tips to give you a better idea when you go out for your first couple backpacking trips, or maybe your first couple hundred backpacking trips, of things to do and to avoid to make your experience more enjoyable. The first is actually very subtle, is you want to avoid animal paths. What are those? Well, when you're hiking along on your trail and you decide, oh great, this is a wonderful campsite, you look around and you see all these little swirling trails all over the place. This is very common in high game areas. You don't want to camp there. And the reason for that is you don't want to be stepped on by a bighorn sheep or a bison or a deer or an elk or whatever at 2 a.m. Animals love using those paths, and they actually follow those paths for their entire life. They learn it from their parents and they teach it to their children or their offspring. You want to avoid those known paths that are very obvious in the forest. The second pointer is to avoid camping in moist areas. Ideally, you want to camp in a much drier area instead of a moist area because of the mosquitoes. That's right. Yeah, mosquitoes. They will drive you nuts no matter what bug head net you have on, what tent, what little no-see-um meshing. Mosquitoes and black flies and biting flies and no-see-ums will drive you mad. When you look at your topo and you see, oh, I'm going to be into a swampy area today, but I won't get there till near the end of the day, you may want to consider camping before that area, because once you get into a wet area, it's really hard to get out, and often you're going to be tired and you just don't want to go anymore. So by camping in the drier area before a wet area, or making sure you get past that wet area before you choose your campsite, will give you a much better night of sleep. The next pointer is to avoid fragile vegetation, especially above 10,000 feet or above 3,200 meters, because the vegetation at above, let's just call it 10,000 feet, is very fragile and it takes a long time for those plants to grow back. The vegetation there is super delicate. Also, vegetation in the desert is incredibly delicate as well. You want to make sure to choose campsites that are pretty well cleared. There aren't a lot of delicate looking plants or flowers or anything else that you can squish using your body weight in your backpack at night, because you want to preserve the forest in the exact place, or the desert or the mountains or wherever you might be, the exact place and the reason that you're there. The fourth pointer, plan for rain. That's right. Invariably you think, oh, the sky's clear, it's beautiful. I'll set up my camp just in the complete open, and at 2 a.m. an unexpected thunder shower comes across the mountains and dumps on your campsite. Planning for rain isn't just expecting that, yeah, it's going to rain down, but choosing your campsite based on the rain topology of the ground is huge. Are you sleeping in a trough? Are you sleeping on a slope? Are you sleeping in a big bowl? These are major considerations, because once it starts raining, that water trickles through. You'd be amazed how wet you're going to be and then have a very unenjoyable night. So it's really key to think, okay, what's the topography of the land? Where will the water most likely run? And trust me, if you have to spend a lot of time figuring that out, if there's even the possibility of a rainstorm, you do not want to get into a trough where all the water funnels when you're camping at 2 a.m. trying to get some sleep. The next thing, speaking of water, is make sure you camp at least 200 feet from any water sources, whether it be creeks, ponds, lakes, not really the ocean, that's pretty non-worrisome, but basically any body of water or flowing water, because of the waste products you invariably generate when you have to go the number one or the number two, or cooking, or when you pour out your dish and say, okay, I'm done with this, because you don't want to contaminate the water. Again, the entire reason that you came to the wilderness is you want to make sure to prevent any waste products from you getting into the water. Yes, I know the bear, the elk, the deer, and the whatever poo right by the water, but the whole goal of us is humans, and I'm not being an enviro crazy whatever. I'm just saying, when I go into the wilderness, I don't want to see trash near the water, and I certainly don't want to have some sort of pollution where I'm going to have to treat the water and not know it's in there. So it's a really big consideration. The next thing is try and choose tree cover without damaging roots on the trees. Why is this? Because when you're camping in a wide open space, and I've had this happen to me, I camped in a wide open space at Yellowstone last year, and it got down to minus 30 degrees. Had my expedition buddy and I camped in the trees. If we were able to, it would have only gotten down to minus 25 degrees. Now that's all Fahrenheit, but granted, of course, that still is crazy freezing, but you'd be amazed how much warmth trees can add to the situation, because not only do they re-radiate infrared heat that they receive from the sun in the day, but they also calm the wind down. And yes, trees actually generate a tiny bit of infrared heat, and it makes a big difference in your experience and when you're camping. And speaking of trees, the next pointer, avoid deadfall trees that are hanging on one tree, ready to come and guillotine you at night. I've never had this happen, thank goodness, because I'm still alive, but when you're looking for your campsite, try and avoid doing it in the dark if at all possible, because you want to look around in the sky, see, oh wow, there's a big tree that's hung on another tree. What if a big wind comes up at night and starts banging around? That 2,000, 4,000, 20,000 pound tree comes and squashes you at night. So even though I suggest camping in tree cover whenever possible, the deadfall risk is high and you want to avoid it. The next consideration you want to look at when you're camping is avoid the valleys and bowls. Not just a general topography where the rain will run, but if you can avoid camping in a valley or a huge bowl, that will make a much warmer night of camping. Because what happens is in the evening, as the air cools down, cooler air flows down through the topography of the landscape, mountains, hills, whatever, and it invariably sinks into the valley. If all you have to do is take a couple of 100 feet elevation gain to choose a campsite, you can enjoy a much warmer night and save yourself several degrees of temperature, as well as the condensation. Condensation from that cool air will get your tent wet, you wet, your sleeping bag wet, and you want to avoid being wet at all costs, but sleeping where it's a little bit warmer will help you enjoy your night. Now, after that, you think, okay, I don't have the valley to sleep in, I've got all these other considerations. Consider the wind direction. When you're sitting here just feeling the breeze blowing around, what do you think was going to happen if I camp in between two big boulders and there's a slight breeze? At 2 a.m., 3 a.m., invariably, those boulders are actually going to create a wind tunnel and blast me. I have made that mistake, yes. I've camped in this area where it created this perfect wind funnel where I got blasted all night, got horrible night's sleep. It's funny as heck. I survived, obviously, but considering the wind is a major factor in you enjoying your night of sleep and your outdoor time. Now, when you're going to your camp, the second to last tip is make sure to clear the ground of any pokey sticks or pine cones or anything. That doesn't mean obliterate the ground and scrape it across, but you want to make sure to protect your tent, your tarp, your sleeping pad, your sleeping bag, and yourself. I talk about these things in my book, Adventure Expedition 1, where you do all the different camping considerations and things you want to watch for. So check out that link below to my book, and they'll also help you get good pointers. And the 11th, let's see, 10 and the 11th pointer is to actually use established campsites. One of the reasons that we go into the outdoors is to enjoy the outdoors, but you don't want to destroy the outdoors. Lots of outdoor stuff. So if you have the chance, if you can camp in an established campsite, that really helps reduce the impact in the environment. That said, if you notice that one area is starting to get packed down, you want to consider, is that area getting destroyed? Is the soil getting squashed? Or do I need to spread the load out? Those are considerations, but the classic ethos is that you choose established campsites to reduce the spread impact on vegetation, animals, plants, and everything else. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Aaron Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and professional adventurer. I hope this video on how to choose backpacking campsites, 11 tips, helped you out so you can enjoy your next backpacking adventure. Please check out links below to my books, Antarctic Tears, Adventure Expedition 1, How to Keep Your Feet Warm in the Cold, Lost at Windy Corner, Jackson Hole Hiking Guide, The Crucial Knots to Know, and as well as my 2024 total eclipse guides. And 2, check out links in the description to my show World Beyond and Antarctic Tears. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and comment on the video and subscribe to the channel. Take care and enjoy your backpacking adventures.